So something I invite you to think about is the idea that everything that exists is consciousness. And consciousness is sort of one massive experiment. I mean, we don't know what it is. We don't really know. We don't know really anything, but the idea that I would like you to think about is the idea that there are no mistakes in consciousness. So if God's source is existing and wants to experience itself, it creates existence, the existence of universes and life forms and all the other things that we think of as existing. And so it's all an experiment by God to experience itself in various different forms and shapes and ways. And so, yeah, I mean, you guys probably haven't heard me talk very much about it, but I do talk a lot about the forces of darkness and entities and things to that nature. And while they are very unpleasant for us humans, and they do cause a lot of problems, and really, we don't want them. Not really, you know. However, they're not really wrong. Just like someone robbing a bank, in our 3D reality of good and bad, right and wrong, legal, illegal, we would consider that to be illegal and possibly wrong and possibly bad. In terms of consciousness, though, that's an experience for God to experience. God wants to experience all the ways of existing. And so there is going to be the good, bad, and the ugly. And that's like when I do entity removals, especially of demonic entities, demons, and the like, I don't really hate them. In fact, I am sort of neutral towards them. Because even though for the most part they are disconnected from God's source, and that's why they need to use us and our energy as food, as energy, our emotions, our actions, are the things that we do that we think of as bad that feed them. So even though they're kind of nasty, like parasites and unpleasant and encourage us to be less than our best selves, they're still a part of reality, which means they're part of consciousness, which means they are part of God. So they're not a mistake because there are no mistakes in consciousness. So I invite you to consider that and how it applies to your life. We can be really hard on ourselves for the choices that we make or the things that we think of as mistakes and the ways that we put ourselves in danger, the ways that we let ourselves down or others. And it's very easy to be hard on oneself. And sometimes being hard on oneself is helpful because that is what pushes us out of really unpleasant states of existing. However, sometimes being hard on ourselves is just detrimental and causes more harm than good. And I invite you to look into those dark places of yourself where you have been really hard on yourself and look into your personal history and consider the things that you've not forgiven yourself for, maybe even the things that you haven't forgiven others for, and consider the idea that there are no mistakes in consciousness. I often think about the mistakes that I made that led me to quitting drinking. I mean, that was horribly traumatic and unfortunate circumstance. However, it was the thing that finally made me quit drinking, and my life is 2,000 times better because of that mistake that I made and the harm that I brought myself through those choices. So consider yourself and how there are no mistakes in consciousness, my friend. You're perfect. You're beautiful.